All right. Yay. It is November. It is Sacral month. So hopefully you guys were able to take a look over these slides. Let me just shrink that so we can look at one at a time. Hopefully you can only, yeah, there we go. Okay. So if you have any questions on the sacral, drop them in the chat. But this sacral center for you generators and many gens is so important. Non-sacrals, it's very important for us too. But the sacral center itself is all about fertility and everything that has to do with fertility, the power of fertility, the life force, sex organs, right? That the womb space, everything comes within the sacral center, all the energy here. And with 70% of the world having it defined, right, that's a lot of power and influence. Having this defined sacral 70% have that consistent, reliable access to not only life force energy, right, making them the doers, but also having a connection to sex being very important in their lives, almost needing it consistently. The sacral also corresponds with work, reproduction, sexuality, and perseverance. This center, the sacral, harnesses the energy, but it has no awareness, right? It's just the raw power. That's why for non-sacrals, right, we don't have the awareness of the center. You just go, 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 and you may burn out, right? It's a motor center because it generates all this energy, right? So, for the 70% of the world with it defined, all the generators and manifesting generators, they have a natural ability to respond, right? That's why their strategy is to respond, to tap into this life force energy at the base of your body to guide you. It's this continuous stream, right? Defined being consistent, fixed, reliable. It's always there for you. So they have this continuous stream of life force energy that sustains what earns their commitment. That's why it's so important for generators to do what lights them up, because there is no off switch, right? It doesn't go on and off. It's just always there. And it has this momentum to be engaged until it's completed. So, generators, if you're doing something that you don't want to do, you still have this urge, this energy, this momentum to do it until it's done. But that with that can come frustration, right? So, it's so important to check into that gut response, the which is not to be confused with emotions in the solar plexus or that instinct that keeps you alive coming from the sacral. Very different. So, this defined center is designed to be a powerhouse, throwing your weight behind whatever lights you up, pleases you, that you desire. It gives you a buzz, right? It gives you more energy. It really lights you up. So, it must be right. It must be that hell yes. If not, you've committed to the wrong thing. Things that might come up: intolerance, boredom, definitely frustration, impatience, and yeah, just allowing sex to be that driving force. So, for the 30% of the world that are non sacrals, projectors, manifestors, reflectors, we are not designed to live in the fast lane. We don't have consistent access to this life force energy. You may have consistent access to other energy, right? The other motor centers, but the sacral is really the life force energy. Our energy comes in spurts. It's not that we don't have energy, and if you have no motor centers defined, right, you just function in a different way. So honoring the spurts when they're there, or being in a team setting where you can absorb other sacral energy, right? To be with a generator is a really great feeling. But it's so important to have awareness around the conditioning, right? All the energy that we've held on to, absorbed, mistaken as our own, can be really helpful. So, what are the energetic expectations? And for us non sacrals, sex isn't a relentless driving force within us, right? Maybe we're considered asexual. Maybe you consider yourself asexual. Or maybe you just go through phases, or maybe it's only when you're in your ovulation phase, right, that you have that drive for sex. That is all completely normal for non sacrals. You don't need to force yourself to do anything, really. But you easily mirror other sacral energy. So when you're with someone else and you feel that sacral energy or you feel that desire for sex, right? That is the sacral. And that is all that interpersonal energy dynamics that happens. So if you have a completely open sacral, I've only encountered one or two in my life thus far. Not only are they undefined, right? They're a non-sacral, but without any active gates here, they carry this extra dimension when it comes to energy, this life force energy. They do not know what to use their energy for. Their energy may be scattered, but they may also have this deep insight into the nature of being, because us non-sacrals can be really curious about energy and how it works, right? Energy management. We're really here to learn about the sacral, to be curious, and to be able to use that wisdom to share with the sacrals. Right? Wisdom and understanding this energy. What is it really for? And the open sacrals, much more easily mirror sacrals, right? They really reflect that back. So, for everyone, knowing the not self of the sacral, which is, do I know when enough is enough? I certainly can not know when enough is enough. And that has been a theme that I've noticed throughout my whole life, whether it be interacting with people or whether it be working, right? I'm like, oh, is this enough? And I'm like, yes, but I'm still going to keep working. Right. That's because we don't know how to honor it. We don't have that consistent connection to it. So we really need to cultivate that and learn that. So when I'm working and I say, is this enough? And my body says yes, I need to listen to that and stop, right? I can't let the mind hijack and say, no, do. We need to do more. That's the conditioning, right? 30% of the world that are non-sacrals, we easily fall into this conditioning, not knowing, or like I mentioned, not listening when enough is enough, which leads to the overworking, the burnout, the pursuing more output, the doing more. Non-sacrals, we are not here to do. That is for the generators. So here are some examples of what the non-self mental monologue can sound like with an undefined sacral. The mind can try and be pushing for all these things, right? Ultimately, boundaries. Right? So hopefully you guys have read through that and can also read through the gates, all the gates in the sacral. Chances are you have quite a few gates. So understanding where you have fixed, reliable access to these specific energies, these personality traits, markers, the flavor of the sacral can be really helpful to know and to utilize, especially depending where they're placed, right? Where the gate is in the astrological placements. To give you an example, gate 27 is important for me because it is my undefined earth. So I find unconscious grounding. I'm sorry, did I say undefined earth? Unconscious earth. So unconscious grounding in nourishing and caring for others. So to see where you could be in the shadow, which is over here, to the gift, to the city, the highest vibration, that essence. And each gate has a gift and the victim, right? Corresponding that victim with the shadow. And then we have experiments. So some of these are split up into sacral and non-sacrals. So experimenting this month with the sacral, gaining awareness. What can you learn about your sacral? How does it function? How can you optimize it? How can you tap into your sacral energy, however it works, to keep you in your signature theme? So sacrals, the fuck no audit. Allow yourself just for 1 week to say no when it is a fuck no. For non-sacrals, checking in with whose energy is this? Is it yours? Is this mine? And if it is, cool, great, use it, find your natural rhythm. Or if it's not, let it go, maybe lay horizontal, right? That's the best tip for non-sacrals, lay horizontal to release that sacral energy. Reclaim your sacred pause, right? Even if you have a defined sacral, it's really important to pause, to wait for the response. If there is not a response, there's nothing to do. You're waiting for a response. You're waiting to respond from your body. Satisfaction scale, right? The sacral is all about satisfaction. That is why generators and manifesting generators, your signature theme is satisfaction. So feeling into this satisfaction, and non-sacrals feeling into the pressure. Where is our sacral pressuring us to go, to do? And play around with doing nothing on purpose, intentionally. Whether you create a block of time in your calendar, intentionally do nothing. See how it feels. Generators, it's really fun when you guys do this because it is so difficult. I think Brittany said this to me recently. She was like, I just can't sit still. Oh, when you hurt your back, you were like, I just can't sit still. That's at sacral, right? It's got to do, do, do. I witness this with my generator grandmother all the time. And it's just so funny. And I'm like, she's a generator. She's got to get up and do, do, do. She's got to putz around. She's got to, be using that sacral energy. And I can lay down and do nothing all the time. um, and then lastly, the energetic boundaries check. Yes, especially when you're told to sit. Yes, right. It's very different when it's your decision, if you're doing nothing on purpose, versus being told you can't do anything, right? That can really bring you into the frustration. So lastly, energetic boundaries check, and you guys can do this week, right? Review your week, last week. So if you want to look back at last week and see, where did you say yes where you were meant to? Where did your authority lead you to aligned activities? Where did you override your body's fatigue to desire to rest? And what's a new boundary that you can set this week, right? Maybe thinking about the goals that you set for this month and checking in with how they're going. What can you do differently?